Hey, good evening to everyone. How are you? It is good to see you, and it is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am Bill Sylvie, the Dungeon Delver. We have a little web stream. I have a little web stream that I do for you guys. 5 nights a week, most nights. Some nights it's only 4, like this week coming up, which we'll discuss. A nerd's nerd, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. These live streams are brought to you by our friends at Hellabard Games. Hellabard makes the kind of adventures they'd like to play, whether it's for 5th edition, for Castles and Crusades, or for the OSR. Old School is in play at the table with Hellabard Games, and you can check them out at Drive-Thru RPG or on their website, hellabardgames.com, and they are linked down below, as is the merch if you'd like to support this channel. Buy a beer glass, buy a t-shirt, buy a hoodie. All sorts of stuff is available at our merch store, which features some lovely artwork drawn by the inestimable Tracy Lesh, who is a friend of this show and a pioneer of Dungeons & Dragons. So that's something fun that you can do. And if you like this video, please, of course, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below and tell me what you liked about it. And goodness knows, I'll keep doing more of that. Thank you, Michael Mertig. I'm glad you enjoyed the Call of Cthulhu live play. We will be doing that on Thursday night. I will be leaving the state on Friday morning. I will not return until Sunday afternoon. So we are sort of compacting everything this week. We will have, of course, tomorrow night will be our Let's Play First Edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Wednesday night, Kyle Schuant will rule the roost as we play some Conflict with a fun group. And then Thursday, of course, we'll play live Call of Cthulhu as part of our continuing Shocktober Horror Gaming Fest. Next week, finally, after about 3 weeks of schedule ups and downs, we will be back to a normal schedule for whatever value of normal might mean to you. Now, I hope, and I've got my fingers crossed, I hope that we can get folk musician, I'm just going to just drop the folk appellation. I'm going to say musician, artist, Bob Antone. I want to have him on at least once in October, but when we have him on, we're going to talk about creepy stuff. We're going to talk about cryptids. Gary loved cryptids. Gary really liked all kinds of legend-oriented stuff, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I want you all to tune in to that. Bob, of course, composed and gifted to this show Owlbear. There's a new bluesier, longer version of Owlbear. Would you guys like to hear it? Would you like me to play that on the show if I have Bob on? Regardless if I have Bob on. If I have Bob's permission, would you like to hear the new version of Owlbear on the show? And if so, I will do that. Ryan and I were jabbing each other this weekend on Twitter a little bit, just a good bit of fun. Someone was lauding him, as they should, for the Nerd Cognito, the Speakeasy, which is a YouTube show he does. You guys go check out Nerd Cognito here on YouTube and give them a subscribe. It's worth your time. It's a lot of fun. And of course, they are all over podcast media with the Nerd Cognito show. But somebody was like, wow, you do Nerd Cognito and you do the Speakeasy? Wow, that is, and I couldn't help getting a jab in at him. I said, wow, 2 whole media projects every week. How do you do it? But hello, Joshua. It's good to see you. But anyway, so yes, I would love to have Bob on the show and with his permission play the new version of Owlbear. I wish Jeremy was jamming on it. Jeremy Rule is a part of Tinkham Road, but it's most of the Tinkham Road lineup. You guys will get to hear it. It's wonderful. And any chance of dancing owlbear minis together? I don't have that animation, that level of animation skill. So I doubt I could really do a good job with that, and I apologize. But there's something I wanted to start the show with after I begged you for your subscriptions. Please click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications if you haven't already, and you can get the full regular schedule as we proceed on. Rattling the Tin Cup. If you want to support the show on Patreon, you can. If you want to support the show via YouTube membership, you can do that. At the $10 level on either platform, once a month, you receive a first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons adventure, a short form one, but it is a module that you can run, and I hope you guys got it. Summer Mountains is the name of the opening credits one. But with all that said, with all that preamble let me you know what, Robert? I'm sorry. Before I go into other stuff, yes, I do have news about how Ernie Gygax is doing. Ernie is responding. He's awake. He's able to talk. I can't recall if Ben said, Ben Poir, who is a friend of mine, and one of the first subscribers I ever had on YouTube. I mean, literally, when my subscriptions were in single digits, Ben came and subscribed to the show, and I hope he still is. But Ben said he is awake. He is able to acknowledge the presence of people. I can't remember if he said he was breathing on his own yet, but as I find out more information, I will bring that. I will bring that to you. So that will that is some good news. That is some good news, and it's funny. By which I mean it made me very angry. Someone posted this just days before Ernie fell again, not physically. You know what I mean. Basically, someone was slagging Ernie, and it's like, I don't know what the context was, but it was just a little snip, and I'm not going to repeat the horrible things that were said, other than to say, can we not be human to each other? I kind of got, I can't believe I'm quoting someone as generally not nice as Mike Tyson, but he said everybody's a badass until they get punched in the mouth. And I think if you could take the computer screen away from people, maybe we could be a little bit nicer to each other. I love that I'm able to contact you guys. But if there's a world that this existed in where I sent 8mm films that got played in theaters, or I sat on my front porch, or I went down to an auditorium and did it, I wonder what a different world it would be. I wonder what a different world it would be. A better one, I think, maybe. A better one. So I wanted to I wanted to share something with you guys that I thought was very important today, and this is a quote from Professor Tolkien, and I think it is very salient because I have started my reread of The Lord of the Rings, and because it's the fall, and that's what I do. So anyway, this is a quote from Tolkien in which he said, "Fantasy is escapist, and that is its glory. If a soldier is imprisoned by the enemy, don't we consider it his duty to escape? If we value freedom of mind and soul, if we're partisans of liberty, then it's our plain duty to escape and take as many people with us as we can. Folks, I will cut the wire open. That's what I do. To take as many people with me as I can. It's all I've done since 2020. And I'm clearly never going to get rich monetarily doing this, right? I'm certainly not going to get famous beyond you guys. But that's what I do. And you have an obligation too. If you play D&D and you see somebody stuck behind the wire, remember that that could just as easily be you, and cut it open and let them out too. So that is the message of the day. If a soldier is imprisoned by the enemy, it is his duty to escape and to take as many people with us as we can. I've had one or two get flagged in strange places, and I just resubmit them, and then they come back. My interview with Tracy did. My last jaunt with Heidi and Eric did. I thought Heidi and Eric came because of the alcohol consumption, because I drank a bottle of wine, not like, I poured myself a few glasses of wine, and Heidi and Eric were imbibing also. So that, I think, I thought that might have had something to do with it. But Tracy and I don't think he and I were, if we mentioned anything, it was his weird affinity for strange whiskeys. Like there was like a peanut butter and jelly whiskey that he was fond of. He's like, "Oh, you got to try it, Bill." I'm like, "No, I don't, Tracy." So I don't know. I don't know. So RPG news, and this kind of dovetails into a little something I'm doing to give back to you guys. Wizards of the Coast, and I'm going to try and do a long form video on this tomorrow. I'm very busy this week, so if I don't get to it, I apologize. I say long form video, I mean a shorter interstitial video, one that comes between my live streams. Wizards of the Coast wants to remove witches, shamans, and druids because they are culturally insensitive. They want to remove them from Magic the Gathering. And of course, because Magic players will bend over and take anything that Wizards does to them, it will likely come to Dungeons and Dragons as well. So, now that that's said, and that's, again, that's all I'm going to talk about it, because I'm going to get on a video about it probably tomorrow. For Halloween, for All Hallows Eve, I am brewing up, if you will, my own witches PC class, not an NPC class, a player character class of witch for first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Level progression tables, magic. Now, am I borrowing from Dragon Magazine's 5, 8, 43, and 114? Yes, I am. Of course. Bill Mulhausen built his witch on the witch in Dragon 43. The Dragon 43 witch was built on Leonard Lakofka's Women in D&D and the other following witch classes that came along later. One was by J. Eric Holmes, in fact. So I will be finishing that. I will try and finish that tomorrow and get that uploaded. What I have to do is Mr. Mulhausen's excellent spells for the witch, I will be looking at those and tweaking those. That's most of what I have to do. And yes, it does draw on a lot of druid spells and a lot of magic user spells. I may throw a lot more druid flavor in there at lower levels and a lot more magic user at higher levels. But I hope that you guys will take to this class and consider it. And it's not just for women who or girls who play D&D. If a guy wants to run a male witch, that's certainly something you can do. And it's, it's kind of something that you can, you can test drive, you can play around with, you can tweak, because, that's what we do. That's what we do. So I'll give you guys a little bit of hints about them. I've deemed that they can be of any alignment. You can have someone who is part of a coven. They are as pure as the driven snow and work only to spread positive magic and caring and love in neutral good territory or lawful good or even chaotic good. And then you can, on the other end of the spectrum, of course, you can have absolute black-hearted devil and demon worshipping, upright pentagram, kidnapping and all the associated unaliving that will come after that of victims. So you can, you can have any of those. You can have strict neutrality, lawful neutrality, chaotic neutrality, good neutrality, evil neutrality, or just neutral right in the center. You can flavor it how you want. That's one feature. Another feature, which I personally think is something that should be fitted into more classes, is, so the mechanics of first edition AD&D are very good. They're very, very good in that they say that a player must play their character to their character class's acute end, as far as they can, I guess obtuse. You want it to be narrow, right? You don't want your magic user saying, I'm just going to fight with my staff and my dagger all the time. I'm never going to cast a spell. Your thief tries to tank, your fighters hang back and just try to collect scrolls to read, and assassins don't assassinate, and clerics won't bless or heal or anything like that. But so my good witches are hippie. No, the good witches are. I mean, it's going to you guys. How you interpret what I write is entirely up to you. Some people may think it's balderdash, print it out just for the privilege of crumpling it into a ball and throwing it in the trash. That's up to you. You may slag me on social media for saying it's a shit class. That's on you. That's on you. So, that's how you level in D&D, is how well you play your character. But one thing that I was thinking, I'm not thinking of doing this, I have added it, it is in the manuscript, is your witch must do something to forward the cause that they are aligned to. A neutral good witch, as part of his or her leveling up process, must go on a minor quest, mission, call it what you will, and do something that promotes the cause of good over everything. That could be working to help cleanse a temple, helping cure someone, getting two star-crossed lovers to finally have their time together, something like that. I know, Jorge. I know. We're cool. It's cool, my friend. And consequently, the evil witch has to do something diabolic. The aforementioned unaliving of an innocent. Just they'll say, okay, you want to become an enchantress? You want to level up to enchantress? Go do this. And then it's up to the DM to come up with an appropriate challenge for them before they can level. It promotes good role play. And I think it's a good mechanic. You may not like it. You may come back and say, I don't want to do that. I just let them level. That's fine. That's absolutely okay. So, that's part of the road that they must hoe. Jack was asking me, should that quest be after they level up? Otherwise, all XP is lost on that quest. They are already capped and waiting to level up. Well, I mean, it's a powerful class. It is a powerful class. So, finding rare spell components, delivering a great devil face wall to Jorge down in South America. What are some other features of it? It's open to humans, half-elves, and half-orcs. I can't remember if I said elves, but it is open to humans, half-elves, and half-orcs. Humans, of course, may level unlimited, half-elves, level 11, half-orcs, level 9. What would they have to do if they're neutral? Find a way to restore a balance that is not evil, lawful, that is not lawful, chaotic, good, or evil. Find a way to restore a balance. Maybe a fane has been soiled. Maybe, there's a dispute in a village that they can adjudicate. Well, to be fair, Wenger, Baba Yaga is a demigoddess. She's not a witch. She's something else. I mean, You'll pay for. Okay, all right. We'll figure it out. I tell you what. When I get back from my trip, I'll figure out what it'll cost. If you haven't already, and I think you probably haven't, I just got buried in months of email. Send me your shipping info, and we'll figure out what it'll cost to ship it to you. So we'll proceed apace, as the man said. So those are a few of the touches that I wanted to include with the witch, and I think I feel like they are good touches. But it'll be up to you guys. You know, if you look at them and you come back and you're like, hey, this isn't, you know, this ain't my jam, man, then okay. But do I have any good witch minis? I don't, Menger. I actually don't. I have all kinds of minis for members of the distaff side. I have, you know, fierce warrior maidens. I have sorceresses. I have various forms of demon girls. Clerics, covering just about every race too. I've got orcs, elves, half elves, gnomes. I don't think I have any. Do I have any female halflings? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'll have to go look. Well, Al, I'm just saying that it's not, and it's up to it's up to the DM. I don't have a Lorraine or Cynthia mini. No. Tell you what, if they ever get too cute and release a line of Wizards of the Coast employees minis. But anyhow, so do you guys want to see the Dungeon Diorama tonight? Speaking of miniatures, you guys want to take a look at that? Interesting thing about Baba Yaga, if you've ever played the storied module in Dragon Magazine, the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga, which I guess later they did a 2E module. I don't know. You can always no. I'd go in Mesh Mixer or 3D Builder or something like that and do it in there. So I should look for any. Oh yeah, Jack. This isn't related, but I forgot. I completely forgot. Which lore am I drawing which inspirations from? A lot of stuff that I'm just making up. A lot of stuff that is previously published. Yeah. Well, the thing with Otyugs, Ryan, is that they consume the poop. WotC creates it. Reverse Otyugs. All right, so let's take a look at the Dungeon Diorama. And as always, these are minis that are painted by myself or by others that I set up to show you guys to look at. So let's take a gander at what's on tap this week and whether or not I have it in focus. Oh, yeah, look at that. So here, this is a band of half-orcs. This is from Holistic again. So we have, I say half-orcs, I'm sorry, they're orcs. But this is from their fantasy characters line. So you can see here we've got a orc shaman there, and sort of a chieftain, and then some fighters, and the chief and the shaman are females, and the fighters are males. And again, those unfortunately are out of print. One thing I can tell you is, as with a lot of pre-painted minis, they are very expensive, the pre-painted metal miniatures. So when these came out This was not an efficient way to get, say, the 30 to 300 orcs that you might need. Average 150. So 30 sets of that, 30 times 20, you do the math. That's what it would have cost you. And you'd have had a lot of repetition. But these are kind of nice looking. They're so big. I've actually used them as bugbears with 25 millimeter minis because these guys are like 32 millimeter heroic. So the orc on the left is Grimsby, and the next orc is Daron. Vrug is probably over here on the far end. Vrug, hey, Doom Sword. He's in the tavern. Can you get a PC for comparison? Absolutely, L. Hang on a second. Now, I know that doesn't look terribly out of scale. Oh my God, where did the focus go? Oh, that's just getting worse. Come on. And I put my hand in there, messed it up. Well, you get the scale size. Here's the thing: she is on a base. She is on one of the infamous Reaper Broccoli bases, which puts her at about a millimeter or two taller. But then orcs aren't generally supposed to be huge. But by comparison, let me show you something here. So she's a heroic 28 millimeter mini, which means like 30. But let me show you something here. Hang on a second. And I am sure that is probably thrown out of focus even more. Oh, no, it's actually back. So that is a true 25 millimeter knight, and they all kind of tower over him. Yeah, and as Doomsword points out, they are crouching or stooping by and large. They're just not standing straight up. The knight that I put in there is. Why, whatever are you talking about, L? I don't. I could you expand on that? I don't know. Is that like an internet meme or something? I'll look that up later. So that is the diorama. The orcs are outside the inn, and they are looking to cause trouble. And there's a lone knight has shown up to try and deal with them. So that's the Dungeon Diorama this week. And I hope you guys like that. Next week, we've got something for spooky season to put up there. I may even, yeah, I'm thinking next week is going to get even spookier. I'm going to bring some really spooky stuff next week. Hobgoblins. Hobgoblins on the average, Vaughn, have more hit points. Remember, a hobgoblin is a 1+1 hit die monster. Orcs are 1 hit dice. So in the overall, a hobgoblin mob is going to have more hit points than an orc mob. A good experiment to try, if you ever want to know how strong a party is or is not, actually kind of forget to keep doing this. Classic haunted house one-shot time for Halloween. Maybe not. Maybe. Who knows? But I know the image you're talking about, Elle. I didn't do that on purpose, but I realized after I'd done that what happened. No, the hobgoblins are stronger. Again, 1+1 hit die versus 1 hit die. God, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, there's going to be something very horror themed probably next week. And I hope you guys will appreciate that and enjoy that. Something spooky. Jason, what is your thesis that orcs are stronger? Because, I mean, let's hang on a second. And I'm not being confrontational. I'm not being ugly about it. Let's see. Let's crack open the monster manual, and I'm going to share this with you guys. Let's go look first at hobgoblins, because they're alphabetically the first, and therefore quicker to get to. And present, share screen, window, share. I'll put this up there. Now, in numbers, I'll give it to you, because hobgoblins, I think, are like 30 to 300, and orcs are 40 to 400 or so. There is a disparity. Okay, we got that there. Okay, so there we go. There's the hobgoblin. And here's something else important about hobgoblins. Hobgoblins can fight by daylight. They don't take they don't take penalties. Tribal bands of hobgoblins are likely to be encountered nearly anywhere, as these creatures are equally at home in sunlight or subterranean settings. They fight well in full daylight and have infravision so as to be able to fight in total darkness. Each tribe is jealous of its status, and if two tribal bands of hobgoblins meet, there will be at least catcalls and derision, and open fighting might break out unless a strong leader, such as a powerful monster or fighter or evil high priest, etc., is on hand to control them. Similarly, the hobgoblins will bully nearby orcs or goblins given the opportunity, and hobgoblin leaders are sometimes used in bodies of goblins or orcish troops to keep them in order and drive them into battle. Oh, I know what I was telling Vaughn. A good thing to do, if you want to know how a group is going to hold up against a monster, think of a party as a multi-limbed monster that can spit magic and make multiple attacks every round. And don't think of individual characters in the party as dying. Think of it as parts of the monster being incapacitated, and just kind of bash that against whatever monster you want to throw against your party, and see how both fare. Scary stuff. Remember, you can only see these with the 3D. The cardboard ones won't work. You have to order these. Dr. Tongue's 3D House of Pancakes. Oh, you push the SCTV button in my head. So there's your hobgoblin. Now let's go down and look at the orc. I don't know why I'm channeling the head of the elves there. Let's go down and look at the orcs. Herbie, why weren't you at orc practice? We have screaming victims, crying victims. We don't need any victims that can run away. All right, so here's the orc. Here is the orc. We're going to have to zoom in. We're going to have to zoom way in. Hobo goblins. Is that a hobbit? Nah, that's a hobo and a rabbit, but they're making a hobbit. All right, so 30 to 300, stronger bands, one hit dice, and of course, they fight poorly in sunlight. They fight at -1 in sunlight, which I think that says up here. In full daylight, they must deduct 1 from their dice rolls to hit opponents, but they see well even in total darkness. Thank you, George. So I just feel like the hobgoblin is the superior humanoid monster. And something else to note, that +1 means that pesky magic user is not going to be dropping them with a sleep spell. Ogre Magi are fun. Ogre Magi are a lot of fun. And if you play them to the lawful side, they can be tons of fun. I don't mean make them good. That's not what I'm saying. They're evil. Hello, Gumby. So I think we've got the breakdown there. I mean, orcs are more numerous. So on the average, you're going to have about 150 orcs. You're going to have closer to 100, 110 hobgoblins. But the hobgoblins, by and large, will last longer. I wish I had the Dungeon Master's Assistant installed on this PC. I'd generate 2 tribes real quick, and we'd see what we got. We would just see what we got on the average. But that's just, that's my feeling. You might feel differently. You might have a world where, I mean, I met people straight. Well, let me tell you something. Weirdness did not start with 2nd edition. It didn't start with 1st edition. It didn't start with OD&D. But I will say that in Dungeons and Dragons, weirdness probably started the day somebody bought OD&D and went through with a magic marker, crossing out stuff they didn't like and adding things. Like, I remember this is pre-internet days for me. Well, pre-regularly, I access it all the time. Internet days for me. That is correct, El. Strength does add to your ability to parry, though. If you wish to parry, and let's say, you're at +3 to hit, you're just that strong, you will subtract 3. Your opponent will subtract 3 from their die throw. Yeah, now orcs are stupid now. They're like big, like pea green colored ogres. And by the way, I don't want to hear about your half-orc rager build you have for Pathfinder 2. Half-orc rager barbarian build you have for Pathfinder 2. So spare me that. Anyway, a nerd's nerd says orcs are physically stronger but are less deadly. Yeah, in AD&D, which is our jam here, a nerd's nerd, clearly the math is hobgoblins are tougher. But no, I remember encountering groups. There was a guy I knew, and his game world was there were the standard races as far as player character races. So you had elves, gnomes, gnomes, half elves, halflings, humans, half orcs. But the only bad guy race were orcs. That was it. No goblins, no kobolds, no hobgoblins, nothing. I want to say he had Lizard Man as a playable class too. But he also did like a whole lot of other stuff. A whole lot of other weird stuff. I mean, it was truly a homegrown setting that like so I was out of playing D&D at the time, and he offered to run some D&D for us, and I remember thinking the first few nights we played, this is just not D&D. This is not the D&D I remember. This is not Keep on the Borderlands. This is not. It didn't scratch any itches for me. And he may have pinched some of that stuff from Dragon Quest. I don't know. Mike, I neither like nor dislike how 5e does it. Statting monsters has been a thing going all the way back to 3rd edition, when 3rd edition was released, which I still can't believe was almost 24 years ago, but there we are. If I want a monster to have stats, I'll create them on the fly. I mean, I had Jane, the type 5 demon, hanging out with a party for the longest time, and I'm not going into it, but she put on a helm of opposite alignment. Go watch the videos about that. The stats for her, I just generated up on the fly and just assumed that she would have a very high int and a very high whiz because of what her past was. Physical strength, I figured average. But I guess if you need it, it's there. If you need it, it's there. And that kind of dovetails quite nicely. There's a webcomic that everybody should read. It's called Rusty and Co. And Rusty and Co., Rusty and Company, if you will, started as a joke on a forum between myself, the creator, and Eric Peterson. Because we were talking about D&D, and I said, I don't like 3rd edition because I think it's ridiculous that monster classes are playable. I mean, you could have a party that consists of like a mimic, a rust monster, and a gelatinous cube. Because now everything can have character stats, and you can just stat them up. And God bless Mike. The next day in the forum was what became episode 1 of Rusty. And every week or so he would draw, and we would cheer for more. I hosted it on my original website once upon a time. And he's a swell guy. And that webcomic is still going strong now. Almost, I can't remember when I'll have to ask him when he started it. But it started a long, long, long time ago. Right, Damien? Vaughn wants to know what Jane's profession in Call of Cthulhu is. She's a dilettante. She is a social butterfly. She has a waiting for Mummy and Daddy to write her a check. Yes, 3E had a lot of books. Don't even get me started on... the first GaryCon I went to in 2018, there were vendors who were selling Pathfinder. You could buy it by weight or by linear foot. How many feet of Pathfinder books do you want? If 5 feet is $55 or whatever. No, I don't think it was like 2.5 feet, $55. 6 pounds is. They weren't selling individual books. No, Wenger, there's a little bit of conversational stream crossing going on. We have a player played by Kinect on in our Call of Cthulhu game that's going on now until the end of October, who's named Jane. The demon that I introduced into the game, I just called her Jane because I'm not creative at all. But hey, I can defend that by saying she's not creative at all. So when I say Jane was a dilettante, I'm not talking about the demon who became lawful good. I'm talking about the character in the Call of Cthulhu game. I'll pull a lot of gotchas. But none of the characters in the Friday night Call of Cthulhu game are secretly demons. Rifts is one of those games I may have a Rifts book around here somewhere that came in one of these giant piles of stuff that I've gotten from people over the years, but I don't have much of any. Volcano God and I played a little Rifts back a number of years ago. We played 1 or 2 sessions. It wasn't bad. But yeah, no, I've seen all those Rifts books and I'm just like, I mean, do you really need Rifts Sultanate of Brunei? And that's like 300 pages. Just beware if an 1897 Winchester shotgun makes an appearance. Okay. But does she have a cute sister? She does not. Copy of Palladium went nuts after that with books. The game, not me. Thank you, George, for the clarification. Bill, I don't have enough power for you. Don't. Then I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, Angel Heart's a good spooky movie. Excuse me, guys. I'm a little tired. So anyway, just to kind of recap, just in case anyone is curious, and I think Jason Thomas is having keyboard problems. Otherwise, Gesundheit, Jason. Anyway, to reiterate, this week's schedule is normal until Thursday. Thursday, we play Call of Cthulhu, and then Friday, I'm out of here. I will be departing early, midday-ish Friday on my little trip up to where I'm going, which a bunch of you guys helped do. So I have you guys to thank for that. Thank you all so much. Get a cup of coffee. Thank you, Gumby. I will do that. I will. Can I get some sweet iced tea? I'm a Southerner. And I need my Sugarfoot to be cold. In fact, that's a super, so that goes up. So first edition AD&D tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Kyle will be running his game of Conflict for us. And if you're not familiar with that, we'll have the links up Wednesday night where you can buy yourself a copy of Conflict. It's written by Kyle. This is the adventure game of modern warfare. We'll be giving that a run through on Wednesday, continuing our shoot 'em up. And Thursday, Call of Cthulhu. It wasn't the America in Car Wars like the 1990s. I know Bolo is set in like the 2200s. Not Bolo. Well, Bolo, Keith Laumer's books. Ogre. The guys at Steve Jackson wanted to call Bolo Ogre Bolo, but the Laumer family, Keith Laumer and co, did not want them to do that. So, and if you're not familiar with Keith Laumer's Bolo books, I do recommend. They are a fine read. Not high literature. It's not the Lord of the Rings. It's not Shakespeare, but it is a good read. It is a good read. So you should definitely check those out, particularly if you're a fan of Ogre. Ogres tend to be mindless and destructive towards everyone, which I guess in the Bolo universe you'd probably think that too. But in Bolo, you get to know them. Like the Bolos, generally speaking, are the heroes, are the protagonists, and they're actually really nice for the most part. But as far as I'm aware, no one ever created a Bolo game of any kind, video or board. And it would almost be pointless to do so now. A complete compendium of Bill Sylvie modules. You'd probably want to spell Sylvie correctly. I mean, define compendium, like all bound in a single book. I don't know. I mean, because there's stuff out there that I've done. Elemental Moon, Temple of the Sun, the Castles and Crusades / Osric version of Temple of the Sun, and of course the Lost Crypt. None of which are those are scattered across 2.5 different publishers, and it's not mine to say what happens to them. As far as my stuff goes, you could just download all the PDFs and concatenate them into a single document. There you go. Hammer Slammers. Yeah, Hammer Slammers. There was a Mayfair Hammer Slammers game, I believe. No GURPS Bolo. Yeah, no. Yeah, that is just ogre. Very funny. Vanger Armor was the inspiration for Starship Troopers. Armor is a good book. It's a fairly breezy read, but it gets kind of jarring when a certain change happens in the book, and you kind of then start weaving in and out with that right turn in the plot with the story that like the first half of the book is, or first third of the book is. Car Wars is pretty awesome. Yes, it is. But anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I'm starting to meander. Castle of the Sylvie Princess. That's funny. I'm starting to meander. So before we wrap up, does anybody have anything? Any comments, criticisms, negative, nasty remarks? Just let me know. Just say so. Of course, if you're watching this later, you can leave them in the comments below. And again, if you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications. If you want to support the show, you can support us on Patreon, or you can support us with a YouTube membership, where at the $10 level, you get a free, well, it's not free, it's $10, but you get a first edition advanced Dungeons and Dragons module every month. And yes, this month is going to be horror themed because it's October. What does Owlbear taste like? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't. I'll check it out. Yes, I've been saying first edition is still on for tomorrow. I have been saying. So that said, guys, be good to each other. Please, please, please. I beg of you. The world is full of white hot ugliness right now. We can be good to each other. We can treat each other like people, I think. So peace, and may you find your owl bear. Good night, guys. I love you all. I mean it. Whoops.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.